Welcome to Around the NHL, presented by Chase. Michelle Gingras alongside Anson Carter. Happy Friday, everyone. Thanks for joining us. We've got a fun show coming your way today. Catherine Tappan joins us in a little bit, but first, we're joined by NHL on NBC's Pierre McGuire, joining us from the NHL bubble in Edmonton. Pierre, thanks so much for taking the time today.
Great to visit with you, Michelle and Anson.
Good to see you, Pierre.
So, Pierre, tell us, what is life like in Edmonton? You know, you've had a lot of time that you've spent in the bubble. We got a little tour of your hotel room while we were trying to set up the shot just moments ago. What have you thought about how the league has done, and what's been your overall impressions?
It's been phenomenal, Michelle, really. The healthcare professionals have been great. The people at the hotel have been overwhelmingly professional. The atmosphere around the bubble has been really intense but positive in so many good ways. The players have been just putting out tremendous shows. The coaches, it's a unique experience. I'm not sure everybody's going to sign up to do it again, but it's really been a fascinating experience, one that I'll never forget.
Pierre, you're one of the busiest men in the game of hockey. You could be heard or seen anywhere and everywhere. Take us through a typical Pierre McGuire day.
It's kind of like your days, Anson. You know, you get up at around 5 o'clock in the morning, you work until around 12, 1 o'clock in the morning, you're back at it the next day. It's a long day. The best thing that goes on for me is getting to go to the gym every day. Just love going to the gym and working out, and that helps you get through the day, obviously. But one of the things that's really been cool about being in the bubble, I'm staying at the same hotel, Anson, as the referees. And those guys are so fit. I don't think the fans realize how fit the officials are. And getting to go in the gym and work out with them and talk to them, you know them as officials. You don't really know them as people. And when you get into a gym with somebody and you're working out with them and you start to talk about your families or your friends or your experiences, that's one of the things I've really cherished about this opportunity, Anson, is getting to know the officials. So a typical day involves a lot. It's a lot of reading. It's a lot of tape study. It's a lot of being at the rink. But more than anything else, it's about having a lot of fun, too.
But I want to take it back to your coaching days. You coached two of the best players in NHL history. What was that like? And do you see any dynamic duos in the NHL that kind of resemble that pair?
Well, when you think about Mario Lemieux in particular, you don't really coach a player like that, Anson. You make sure that there's air in the tires, there's gas in the tank, the fluids are up to the highest levels they can be. But you make sure you manage them in terms of how they are prepared to play. Jaromir Jagr was a phenomenal talent. I was fortunate enough to be part of the management team that drafted him in 1990 in Vancouver, and skated thousands of hours with Jaromir over time and passed him tons of pucks. I think the biggest thing is just the professionalism both those guys had, and their commitment to excellence was phenomenal. You know, Anson, I remember when you were at Michigan State and I was coaching Jaromir Jagr at the time, and the thing that stood out to me about Jaromir more than anything else, he was the first guy to really start running up and down the stairs. He was the first guy to really do a lot of the pregame work that now we take for granted. But he was one of the first guys I ever saw do that kind of preparation before games.
You've had a really interesting career, Pierre. Obviously, Anson just touched on it a little bit, but you also have a connection with the NHL's all-time winningest coach, Scotty Bowman, and I hope you could elaborate on that a little bit with us.
Well, it's really been a pleasure and a privilege to call him a friend. I feel so grateful every day to have had the chance to work with and for Scotty. You know, I was a college coach at St. Lawrence University when Scotty was taking his daughter on college visits, Michelle. And he saw me run a practice, and he came down and introduced himself to me. And I won't make it a boring story, but there were no cell phones then, Michelle, believe it or not. So he drove from St. Lawrence to Montreal, where he was actually working for Hockey Night in Canada. And he called me from his hotel at my apartment in Canton, New York. And he said, if I ever go to the NHL, and this was a day after I met him, I want to hire you. I want you to come work for me.
Wow.
And so that's when our friendship started. And I'll never forget, I was watching ESPN, believe it or not. And there was a press conference from Pittsburgh, and it was Scotty, Bowman, Bob Johnson, the late Bob Johnson, and Craig Patrick. And I was watching it, and right after the press conference was over, my phone rang. It was Scotty Bowman. He goes, get to the Ottawa airport. There's a ticket waiting for you. Fly to Toronto, meet me there, and then we're going to Vancouver for the draft. That's how I got hired. I'm not kidding.
Wow. What was that moment like for you when you received that phone call?
It was really different. I'll tell you that. It was really different. And then we spent, from Toronto to Vancouver, we probably spent 5 hours just going over every player that was eligible for that draft in 1990. And, you know, Scotty said, who's the best player? And I said, without a doubt, Jaromir Jagr. He ended up going 5th overall because at the time, a lot of people didn't think that Jaromir Jagr was going to be able to get out of the Czech Republic. It was Czechoslovakia at the time. So Craig Patrick deserves so much credit, the general manager of the Penguins at the time. He had so many connections because of the 1980 Olympic experience where he worked for Herb Brooks, that he knew the people that were running the Czech Ice Hockey Federation, and they knew the people that owned the team in Kladno where Yarmer played. And we were convinced that we could get him out, and that's how we got him.
When we see you, Pierre, during broadcasts, you're inside the glass. You've helped revolutionize that position. Take us through how that came about.
That was the idea of Sam Flood, Anson. And, you know, it's really an interesting thing. I was doing the 2004 Stanley Cup final from Tampa before Game 5, Calgary-Tampa. And I was on the set with Bob McKenzie and Gord Miller from TSN in Canada, who I used to work for. And Sam comes up to me and he says, listen, I have a question for you. I'm with NBC Sports, and we're going to get the rights to the National Hockey League. Do you think you could broadcast a game from between the two benches? And I said, yeah, I believe I can do it, but I don't think the league will ever allow you to do that. He said, you leave that to Dick Ebersol and I. If you think you can do it, you have the job. We think you could do the job. And I said, okay, I can do it. I said, but I don't think it'll ever materialize. And about 4 or 5 months later, I got a call saying it's good to go. And so that's what happened. We had the lockout, as you know, the nuclear winter. So it took an extra year, but that's when it took off. It was all Sam Flood and Dick Ebersol's idea.
Okay, so let's switch gears. Let's talk about this next series. Obviously, the Colorado Avalanche will face the Dallas Stars. You're in Edmonton. What stands out to you the most about that series?
Nathan McKinnon is just unbelievable, Michelle. I know everybody knows Connor McDavid, and I know everybody has their favorite players around the league. I'm not sure there's a better player in the league than Nathan McKinnon right now, and it's going to be a big load for Dallas to try to handle. He plays with Gabriel Landeskog and Mikko Rantanen, and that line is phenomenal. It's the most powerful line in the league between the three players that are on it. They're just so darn big and so quick. So I think that's going to be a big thing for Dallas. The thing that people are underselling about Dallas, they're really well coached. They're extremely structured in their own zone, and they've been able to overcome the loss of Ben Bishop. Anton Hudobin has gone in goal, Michelle, and he's done really, really well. It's going to be a fast, hard-paced series. I really believe that.
Let's switch gears a little bit. Game 6 tonight, the Vancouver Canucks against the St. Louis Blues. And it's hard to believe, but the Blues are on the brink of elimination. There's been so much unexpected in this series, but what do you expect to see tonight?
You know, Michelle, I've been telling you about working out with the officials. We go in there and everybody, the day of a St. Louis Vancouver game, everybody says, oh, the big boys are on stage again tonight. They call it the Big Boys series, and it is. Mm-hmm. There have been a lot of breakthroughs. Obviously, Quinn Hughes has been phenomenal for Vancouver, especially on their power play. The play of Brock Besser, the play of Elias Lindholm. You know, you see so many good things happening for the Vancouver Canucks now in this series and also long-term. The biggest thing, they've got to get to their speed game early, Michelle. If they do, I think that'll be a problem for St. Louis. But if St. Louis is able to establish a ground and pound, aggressive forecheck game, which they were able to do in games 3 and 4, that's going to be a problem for Vancouver. So it's going to be interesting. Who can get to their game the quickest will probably win Game 6.
Okay, Pierre, I'm going to put you on the spot now. Who do you think will win Game 6?
I'd never say that because I have to stand between the benches, Anthony.
You said you weren't worried about standing between the benches.
That's the only word to tell, exactly.
Smart man, smart man.
Pierre, we really appreciate you stopping by today and taking the time. We wish you the best of luck throughout the rest of the series and throughout the Stanley Cup playoffs.
I have one quick Anson Carter story to tell you.
Oh, please. We love ace stories.
And I've told this to Anson before. I remember going into Michigan State to watch him play, and he was on a real good team there and really well coached. And I went back to my bosses in Ottawa, and I said, there's this player at Michigan State. He's owned by the Quebec Nordiques. His name is Anson Carter. We should try to trade for him. So we made a deal with Quebec, and we traded a really pugnacious kid by the name of Heward to Quebec, and we wanted Anson in return. And the general manager at the time in Quebec was Pierre Lecointe. He goes, no, we're not trading Anson Carter to you. And we ended up taking a defenseman by the name of Mika Stromberg. But I've told Anson this a million times. We desperately wanted to get him in Ottawa, and we couldn't get him. So there you go. That's my Anson Carter story.
I almost wish I came too, Pierre. I almost wish I was in Ottawa. Things might be a lot different.
No, I think everything's worked out fine for you.
True.